Welcome to Crew Network's Career Zone, where you will have an opportunity to learn firsthand what it takes to be a successful commercial real estate professional in the segment of professional services. We represent Crew Network, a professional organization dedicated to the mission of advancing the success of women in commercial real estate. Our members represent every specialization from appraisal to law to zoning, and we are a very diversified disciplinary organization. We hope that you will look for a Crew chapter in your area. I'd like you to meet our panelists of Crew Network members who are recognized for excelling in their specializations in our industry, and provide information to help you better understand the career opportunities that are available to you within the professional services industry. So I will take an opportunity to introduce myself first, and then you will meet each of our panelists. My name is Sally French Tyler. I'm with First American Title, and my specialty is title insurance. We specialize in the title and escrow settlement services. And what that means effectively is that for every real estate transaction, there is a title and settlement portion of that transaction. So we cure title. We ensure that the title holder, the person who's buying or refinancing buildings, hotels, shopping centers, whatever commercial asset we're looking at, we ensure that the title holders are in first lien position and that their title is clearly defined. And so therefore it's a protection, it's an insurance product, but it's also exciting because every transaction is different from the one before. We have settlement providers all over the country. They also handle the disbursements and the closing, so when the money goes through and the deals close, we're responsible for that money. So it's an exciting aspect of the deal, and as I said, every deal is different, so it's very exciting. I think at this point in time, I'd like to turn it over and ask each of our panelists to introduce themselves and cover their area of expertise for you. Diane, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Sally. My name is Diane Butler. I'm the CEO and principal of Butler Burger Group. We are a nationwide appraisal and consulting operation with offices in 15 cities, and we do appraisal and consulting work, and it's a very interesting business. I tell many of the young people that have a desire to go into commercial real estate that valuation is a great platform. If you don't understand value, you can't lease it, you can't develop it, you can't sell it. And so many real estate professionals start in the valuation business and get that foundation. And I absolutely love it because it is something different every single day. No building is like another. Every property is different, so you are completely challenged. It's fun being out of the office, and it's been a wonderful career for me.
Terrific. Angela, how about you?
My name's Angela O'Byrne. I'm the president and owner of Perez. We are a design firm. We build also about 20% of what we design, and we're also a real estate developer. We have 10 offices around the U.S., and we work all over the world. And I would say the wonderful part about my career, both as a designer and in all the other roles, is just the huge variety of building types and locations and just the geography, the cultural differences between one area and the next are just fascinating, and it's never boring. I just love all the aspects of what we do.
Judy, how about you?
I'm Judy Nitch. I'm a civil engineer, have my own business in Boston called Nitch Engineering. We're 23 years old. We do the land side of building projects, from the traffic engineering to the site design, the land surveying that goes into a new project being developed. And we also work on existing projects as well. And we can work on a 1,000-acre master plan to a single site. And as the prior two panelists said, the variety of project types is what makes it interesting, because no project is like the other. Whether it's a museum, an office building, a hospital, a university building, restaurant, they're different, they're fun, the regulations are different, the clients are all different, and it's very interesting work. And for me personally, it's tangible. I can drive down roads and through developments and buy buildings that I had a piece in, and I can say, this is there because of what I did. That's fun.
And Lee?
Thank you. I'm Lee Wellborn. I'm with Ernst & Young, which is one of the global Big Four accounting firms. As I mentioned, we are in every major city around the world. We focus on tax and accounting issues for multiple industries, including real estate. We also provide a number of advisory services, everything from valuation, like Diane mentioned, to my specific specialty, which is cost segregation services. Cost segregation is similar to valuation in that you are taking pieces of buildings and breaking them down. It's just for a different purpose.
Ladies, I'd like to ask you a few questions. Let's start with sort of what makes our particular part of the industry special, and what sort of talents would you be looking for when you're recruiting for your particular segment? So Diane, let's start with you.
Well, we generally hire people with finance degrees, economics degrees, people that have a desire to get into the numbers, because valuation is about the numbers. Trying to assess and value a building requires some understanding of finance and the financial components, and research is a very big part of what we do. So people that are curious, people that have an affinity to solve problems are very well suited for appraisal. So we are looking for young professionals that have a desire to problem solve and that are really focused on the issues at hand.
And if one were interested in your particular segment, is there an organization that they can go to?
There is an organization that professionals in the appraisal profession join, and it's the Appraisal Institute. And after getting a degree from college and working in the profession for a number of years, we aspire to gain our MAI designation, and that is an association of real estate professionals that awards that designation.
Okay, great. Angela, how about you?
Well, I think one of the things that makes designing, building, and developing really special is that you, regardless of the size of your project, big or small, you will have a huge impact on your community and the building users and occupants for many, many years to come, possibly generations. So you really leave a legacy, and it's very gratifying to go to a groundbreaking and then, of course, to a grand opening after the building is finished. It's really, really an exciting part of the whole process. The skills we look for, huge variety of skills. We need technical people who are really good at making sure those buildings don't leak. You know, they're going to worry about the little details and making sure the waterproofing and roofing is perfect and all that. Of course, we need the really creative geniuses, right? The folks that will be doing the design work and leading the charge on the design side. We need financial people, people who care about budgets and schedules and are going to make sure it gets built on budget and on schedule. And then we need marketing people, the rainmakers, the folks who are out there getting the work and filling that pipeline and backlog. So really, in my industry, you need virtually every skill, I think. And no one person has them all. So we need all of the skills that any business would need.
Great opportunities. Great.
Yeah, lots of opportunities.
Judy?
Civil engineers make a difference in the world. The environment is one of the big areas that we can influence, and we can influence it well and we can influence it not so well. One of the specialties within my firm is sustainable site design and stormwater management, and we make sure that there isn't flooding occurring on project sites or within developments, and we work very closely with the architect to make sure that the site is coordinated with the building project. And what we look for in our young engineers is, first of all, a degree in civil engineering. Many times we'll see a master's degree in sustainable design or construction management, or even an MBA, because engineers that understand business are really critical to the future of any business at all. And oftentimes a degree in business on top of an engineering degree is worth a lot more than just a straight engineering degree. So we look for a variety of people. One of the most important skills that we need is someone who can articulate to the public in a public hearing, for example, what the engineering is on a project. Many times people think of engineers as people that just like to keep their head down and be at the computer. But most of our engineers are not that way. They like talking about their project, and they're enthused and engaged with it. And that enthusiasm is a critical factor, I think, in engineering, but probably in every one of our careers here.
How does your company recruit, Judy?
We find a lot of people come to us because we have specialty and sustainability that many civil engineering firms don't have. We're 80 people. We have one office in Boston, but we have projects in 18 states, so we travel a lot. But we also are very family friendly, and we are mindful that people have lives. And you know, we're not a sweatshop the way some industries and some businesses are. And we happen to be 40% women at my firm, which is very unusual in civil engineering. It's about 10% nationally. So we're a little different in many ways, and people tend to seek us out.
Okay. And Lee, a global company like yours, you know, how do you recruit, and what sort of tips do you have for interviewing, and what are you all looking for?
That is a great question. We also are looking for engineers, and I agree with you that they're not all wanting to keep their heads down. We're looking for people that are interested in lots of different industries, because in the cost segregation world, we really dabble in all the different industries, which I think that's one of the best things about my job, actually, is I get to travel, get to tour different types of facilities. I've been in everything from, you know, computer chip manufacturing to you know, high-end retail to office buildings, you know, things you might not be able to see otherwise, and it's just really fascinating. We're looking for people that understand buildings, you know, degrees in architecture, engineering, construction, the ability to read blueprints, to do estimating unit takeoffs from blueprints, that understand how to interact with architects and construction professionals and engineers on site. You know, can ask the right questions and kind of walk the talk and speak the language. So we really have a couple of different ways that we recruit. We have lots of campus professionals that go out to the different college campuses that we typically recruit from. Specifically for our practice, we're a much smaller business unit within kind of the larger tax and audit practices, so we're a little more targeted. We tend to go to schools with strong engineering programs or architecture programs. We try to give some informational speeches at colleges, just because, you know, for instance, when I was in college, I didn't even know that this was a choice for me as a career. So we're really trying to educate folks. It's a lot of word of mouth, though, because it is a very specialized industry.
And have any of you engaged with social media to assist you in your recruiting efforts and even sort of the marketing and advertising aspect of your business? Because, of course, social media has become a very large and very appropriate use in this cycle.
We've done quite a bit with it, and we've tried to segregate. So Facebook is one of our resources for recruitment. And so we post different things on our Facebook page. We tweet business-related things that audience would be looking at. For example, me speaking at the Crew Conference this week was one of the tweets that our firm sent out. And we're also on LinkedIn, and again, that's a different type of focus for us. So we try to not put everything up on every site. We try to really understand who might be on that site and what do they need to see.
So you target it to your audience, of course.
We do.
And we do the same thing. We use social media, but we also have great relationships with some of the real estate departments across the country, and you know, trying to get young students interested in commercial real estate is something that happens earlier in their college careers, and so we try and seek out those juniors and seniors. We offer intern programs, and we love hiring interns because during the summer we work with them, we get to know them, we see how they work, and then hopefully we hire them full time once they graduate.
Yeah, we're doing a tremendous amount of social media also in our office, and of course Facebook, LinkedIn, blogging. We tweet in 3 voices. There's my voice, the design studio has a voice, and the marketing group has a voice. So I'm practically the oldest person in my company, so this has been a real challenge for me, but it's been fun learning about it, and of course the young people can run circles around me, right? They can do this stuff all day long, and it's fun to watch.
We also use social media as well at my company, and much like what you were saying, Angela, in terms of the type of individuals that we look for, we have so many different aspects of our business, from sort of the finance piece to the marketing and sales piece, to the underwriters who establish and evaluate our risk and determine what risk we're willing to take on. We have a lot of real estate lawyers who are a part of our team. And then certainly we have a lot of MBAs and business and finance people as well. So we are using, like you all, those mediums to recruit. And we're certainly, I think as an industry, we're very conscious of the fact that there is a little bit of a disparity in terms of the demographics. We're an aging industry in some respects, and we're very excited and anxious to reach out and tap into the young folks who are looking to get into our industry. And our industry is, from a compensation standpoint, let's talk about that for a moment. Everybody's always curious to know what is my earning potential in this particular segment of commercial real estate. Would any of you care to address that?
I'll start because we're probably the least paid among all of us.
Maybe.
Well, we'll see.
No,
So-
architects are less paid than engineers.
Okay, I'll let you win that one, yes. Civil engineers with just a bachelor's degree will make about $50,000 out of college, depending on what type of firm you go into. But in a consulting engineering firm like mine, $50,000 is probably normal. 4 or 5 years into it, once the engineer achieves their professional engineer PE registration, then they will get a bump in salary at that point, and that's the minimum requirement for one to practice as an engineer on their own. So getting one's PE is important. For us, getting a master's degree is also important. A project manager may make $90,000, $100,000, $110,000. A department head could make $125,000, or, and then it can go up from there. So there's a lot of opportunity, and we also are able to adjust so that people can, in fact, work part-time because they're raising a family. So it really depends on the firm and the type of work you want to do, if you're willing to travel, if you're more doing design work and CAD work versus project management, and a lot of opportunities, though.
I would say pay scales are very similar in my industry. I would say they do vary quite a bit from city to city. So East Coast, West Coast,
Right.
you're going to be in the range that Judy's talking about, maybe even a little more. And then in the middle of the country, like we have offices in New Orleans and Houston, Mobile, Dickinson, North Dakota, and Denver, I would say as much as 30% less than the numbers you're...
Our industry is a little unique. Professionals come into our industry out of college or out of an MBA program, and they're generally salaried. And those salaries can be as low as $40,000 to $50,000. And once that employee receives or gains their appraisal certification, which is the license that you have to be able to do appraisal, it takes about 3 years to get that. Once that employee becomes a certified appraiser, then the salary goes up. And beyond that, once they achieve an MAI designation, it can go up even further. And the thing that I've always loved about the business, it's salaried at first for the first couple of years, and then it's commission-based. So your ability to earn income is absolutely unlimited. I mean, we have appraisers making six figures, $500,000 a year. So it can vary very widely. So it's great. It's a very motivating type commission structure.
And you're right, although the average for the Crew Network member is about $150,000, we have salaries within our group that range even over the millions. So there is unlimited potential for earning in commercial real estate for women, and it's terrific.
Yeah, I'd like to add that in the design, build, and development industry, of course, the owners and the partners will make anywhere from, again, in the second tier cities, from $100,000 to $1 million or more. That can be quite substantial.
Right.
And I would say in my company, we're doing very well, but we believe in giving back to the community, so we give back in charitable contributions and pro bono work about 2/3 of what the owners and principals are making.
Wow.
That's-
And I would say it's a risk-reward type of scenario, isn't it? Where the more you're willing to risk, the greater the potential reward
Absolutely.
For everybody.
I think that's true, and I think, I don't want to rub it in, ladies, but I think our starting salaries might be a little higher in the consulting world, but there again, as you progress through the ranks, it's just, as you mentioned, we've got partners that make over $1 million, so, but I think it's a great choice for, especially if you want to be involved in architecture and engineering, but maybe not be a professional engineer or a registered architect. Consulting is a great way to still make a fabulous salary, and still be very involved in the industry.
Oh, I would agree easily 2 times the starting salary. I mean, it's funny because my children, right?
rub it in.
No, my son told me the other day, because I was telling him, go get your teeth fixed, son. He had braces when he was young. It's just a funny, cute story. And I said, and he's 31 when I told him this. And I said, I'll pay for your teeth to get fixed again. Go get a retainer. And he said, Ma, I make more money than you do. I'll pay for my own teeth. I said, you go get them, baby.
So I'd like to ask all of you, and whoever wants to start can, really sort of how did you get into the profession that you were in? Was this something that you knew as a young person that you wanted to get into? Or is it really something you fell into by accident? I know several of us have had different iterations in our careers where we started one place and ended up someplace else. So who would like to start?
I'd love to start with that one because I did know since I was 10 years old that I wanted to be an architect. Of course, at that age, you don't really have a clue. You're kind of parroting what you hear, right? But I had an uncle who was an architect, and he really inspired me, and I was a very creative child. I was always in art classes and painting, drawing, and really loved the idea of marrying art with science and the more technical aspects, because I also it's kind of unusual in one person, but I had a creative side, and I was really good with numbers, so I loved math. And always wanted to do that, but ironically enough, after I got into the field, I decided I didn't know enough about finance. So I got a master's degree in real estate development and finance. I worked briefly on Wall Street as a housing bond issuer and learned a ton that really helps my clients and has helped make me a better design builder.
Interesting.
But missed the creative aspects of designing, so I came back to it. And that was my evolution.
Okay, and I know Lee,
That's
you
pretty
had
impressive, Angela, because when I was 10, I think I still wanted to be a surgeon. So, yeah, my story is a little bit all over the place, but I did a lot of exploring in the market to find out what types of opportunities might be available, because I just didn't really have a great idea. Actually, when I went to college, I was accepted into the business school, and then I went to orientation, and they started talking about architecture, and I thought, that sounds really cool. I think I'm going to go change my major. 3 days before classes started, I changed my major to architecture. And then actually minored in building construction. Got out of school, worked for a contractor, worked in the design industry a little bit. Just felt like I wanted a little bit more of the business side to learn, maybe some of the numbers side that we've all been talking about. So I kind of fell into my career, as you mentioned.
Yeah, no, funny you should say, Lee, because for about one day I toyed with the idea of pre-med, and I did apply to one pre-med program, and virtually everyone in my family is a physician or they married a physician, so I'm truly the black sheep in a sense. But I mean, they all think it's fascinating that I do this stuff that they know nothing about. And of course, I know nothing.
The glamorous
I know nothing about what
position.
they do, but it's fun to
Well,
talk to
in
them.
my
How about you?
in my start, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. I loved just the legal aspects and so forth of law. And then I realized, I really love numbers. So I ended up with a finance degree, and I got a minor in real estate. And so I went to Houston, Texas, thinking I was going to be a banker. And I started talking to people in real estate, and they said, "Don't you have a minor in real estate?" And I said, "Sure." And they go, "Real estate is where it's at in Houston, Texas." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I start checking into this, and one thing led to another, and I started with an appraisal firm in Houston, Texas. And I absolutely loved it. That commission base, the drive, every single project was different. My finance background gave me the ability to really, there's so much finance related to valuation. So it was a great place for me, and I actually thought, one day I'll get out of this and do something else, but here I am many years later with a very large national firm, and I absolutely love it.
Neat.
For me, I was always good in math and science as a kid. I was quite smart as a kid, but I didn't like doing girl things. So as an example, I played clarinet in 4th grade, and when I got to 7th grade, I said, I don't want to do that, it's a girl's instrument. I want to play alto sax, and I played alto sax then for another 10 years. So when I went to college, I was always told I'd be a great nurse and a great teacher, and I said, I am not doing those things just because those are girl things. I didn't want to do them. And so I started college as a math major and knew I didn't want to stay in math because you became a teacher or an actuary. And I said, what can I do? And I wanted to stay at the college I was at, so I checked out the majors and I said, civil engineering, that sounds pretty cool. And then I got a summer job doing site engineering for a small, very tiny town, small land survey, civil engineering firm. And what my firm does today is the same thing, but just on a much larger scale project size. I've worked at 3 firms in my career and have been a principal at each of them. So I think also, besides being a civil engineer, I've done a lot of courses in business and learned how to run a business, understand the finance, understand business development, understand the HR issues. There's so many issues that I have to deal with as a business owner that aren't related to civil engineering. And that just jazzes me. It's different every day. And so we're the largest women-owned engineering firm in the Northeast at this point.
That's fantastic. Let's talk about change, because change is something that as we develop in our careers, we certainly learn the impact of change that it has on us individually and as an organization, certainly within our businesses. We have been through a very interesting cycle in commercial real estate over the last couple of years, and I'd like to hear from each of you in terms of how change has impacted you and how do you address it? How do you deal with change in your world? Diane, why don't we start with you?
We have had such change in values with the financial crisis that occurred in 2008. And the research that we do is so relevant, and it has to be current. But when there are no transactions occurring, that makes it very difficult to do your job as an appraiser, because appraisers use historical sales information. And during a period, there were not any sales, and so there were very few transactions. So many of our lender clients look back to firms that had been around in the 1980s and the early 90s financial times to see how they would value properties. And so change has had a tremendous impact. And the thing that's very interesting about appraisal, when the market is bad, there's a need to value properties more regularly. And when the market is good, there are a lot of transactions, as you know, and that requires appraisal. So our industry has been, during this downtime, has been the recipient of huge, we've had huge growth during this time, because it's the perfect storm. We have the need to value properties that are being, resized and loans renegotiated, and also the new transactions as our markets are coming back.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would say as well that in the title insurance industry, movement equals opportunity equals revenue. The one year that we had virtually no movement was 2009. There weren't very many transactions occurring in that year. And what we spent our time was, we really did support our customers to help them understand the condition of their title, to understand where, what they had in terms of ownership and what their lien positions were, and the current effect. So essentially, the title insurance industry actually is a great industry to be in, because if it's going up in terms of valuation, if it's depreciating. So if it's a buyer's market, we're busy. If it's a seller's market, we're busy, and that's one of the advantages. How about you, Diane, Angela?
Great question, Sally. Well, I'd like to answer it, I guess, go on 2 parallel tracks, so to speak. There's change in the world, right, that affects my industry hugely. The economy, what's happening with financial markets, are their capital budgets shrinking or growing? So I would say, as a company, we have to embrace change or we're going to get killed, right? But there's certain things that I think, this is the parallel track, that should never change, and that is the core values of the company. That we should, like Judy was saying, really care about our coworkers and really be there for them. That never changes. But I would say, for instance, in the design, build, and development world, when the economy crashed in 08, 09, 10 were tough years, fortunately, my company was already in the public sector. So we went from being about 50% public work and 50% private work to being about 90% public work for a while. And now we're seeing the private work come back. So we have to be constantly aware of what's happening with our clients.
So yours is really more of a load balancing type of issue.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, Judy, how about you?
Change is constant for us as well. We address that by always having a strategic plan and updating it and understanding what's expected to be coming out in the next year or 2 years or 3 years. So as civil engineers, though, we work on the site side of the building projects, and it doesn't really matter a whole lot to us whether the building is an office building, a college building, a hospital. There's different parking requirements, for example, but for the most part, it's site design, it's water and sewer connections, and it's the permit process to get that project through the permit process to get built. So we do every market except for single-family residential projects. What changes for us, though, is what market is hot. So office buildings have not been hot in the last few years. K-12 schools have been. We do a lot of university work as well. We're seeing the office market coming back, though, now. We're seeing a lot more, well, we have seen a lot of multifamily. We're seeing a lot more hospital and healthcare work coming up now. So we try to understand what's upcoming. How do we position ourselves to get on those projects, get to know the architects doing those kinds of projects and who the developers are for the next hot thing. And monitoring that and staying on top of it is a key part of our growth. We actually have grown from 50 to 80 people in the last 4 years. And like Angela, we also go from the public sector to the private sector. When the private sector was booming, we did about 55% private sector work. This past year, we did about 65% public work. So we always do some of each, but it's the split between the two that varies depending on what's happening in the economy.
So I think what I'm hearing a common theme is that, you know, you have to maintain your core values, the integrity of the company, the model that you base your business on, but also with the vision to prepare strategic plans and to capitalize on the markets that are beneficial to you, but also to be able to diversify in a way that you can handle the cycles, because real
Right.
estate is all about cycles.
Yeah, I think you have to be flexible. I think that's exactly what we've all said. I think, you know, for us, when the economy took a bit of a downturn, as you mentioned, there were less transactions, less property was being acquired, there was less new construction, but there was still a need for clients to increase cash flow. So we really started looking at existing portfolios of work. So clients that have, you know, large portfolios, large holdings of real estate right now, we said, well, how can we focus on that and help them increase cash flow from their existing holdings?
Okay.
The other piece of change that I think we forgot to mention is just technology. The unbelievable changes in
exactly.
technology and staying. In my firm, we try to not necessarily be on the front edge, right? We want to be right behind that, because certain things happen in technology that end up not working out. So we want to see the glitches get worked out before we jump on. But we have to stay pretty close to the front and be very forward thinking, because
you
our
have to
clients
be.
Expect that.
You have to be with technology, because even the development of technology, the investment, the resources that it takes to build, and typically you're a year or two out when you're building a technological solution. So at the end of the day, technology is a part of a long-term strategic plan, and you have to understand how that's going to benefit you.
And what it's done is it's made real estate transactions happen more quickly.
It has.
The things that used to take a month, now we are doing in a week. Valuation work is done very quickly now.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I know First American's been a leader in technology for years.
Yes.
And it's a big part of your business.
It is, and you know, and that leads me to another topic I wanted to cover with you all, which is the value and the importance of relationships in real estate. A lot of us will tell you that relationships really are at the very core of developing your business. And technology has changed that in some way, but let's talk about the balance of the relationship piece, how we network, whether it be local or national, and really how the technology piece of the solutions going forward for business has changed the way we network.
Great question. I love that question, Sally, because it also relates to your earlier question about what we look for when we're hiring, right? So, for instance, communication skills, people skills, being able to work with your team, especially in my industry or the related things that we do. We are constantly working with engineers like Judy's firm. We might have 10 different disciplines besides our own, the ones that we perform in-house, working as subconsultants to us, plus the owner's own sometimes enormous team of experts. And then there's the building users and the community outreach that we have to do sometimes. So people skills are paramount. And I think that's something that young people really need to think about, because it's not all electronic, right? In fact, recently I read, and I love this quote, 70% of communication is body language. So if you're just emailing and calling somebody on the phone, you're going to miss 70% of the potential for communication. So more and more, even though we're embracing all those technologies in my company, I am really stepping it up and making an effort to be face-to-face, even if it means jumping on an airplane to have lunch and jumping on that plane the same day and coming home, because it's that important to get face-to-face, and people appreciate that.
They do. They
Well,
do.
and,
You're
and,
right.
and building your network should happen, that should be one of the first things you do in your career, regardless of what discipline you're in. It's so critical to build the network. And one of the things that Crew has provided me is a network of 8,000 women across the country, and it's just been invaluable to my business.
I would say, not only that, I would say for young people, that is the should be one of the top priorities. Of course, you need to be learning your craft also, but I came late to that realization. I always thought, just keep your head down and keep working. And here I am 52, and I think I only really realized it fully 10 years ago. And it is all about relationships, and you've got to start early, because the relationships you make in college and grad school are folks you may be working with 30 years later, which is happening in my industry quite a bit.
There is original research on professional services marketing and business development that people that develop their networks when they're 20s have a network of clients and potential clients when they're in their 40s. But if somebody starts trying to develop their network in their 40s, they won't have it till they're in their 60s. So the most important piece of advice is to be out there in the industry and getting to know people. People do business with people they like and trust. And if they don't get to know you, they're not going to have the chance to get to like you and trust you. Within our firm, we talk about how do we get business, and my job is looking for the new clients and the new projects. We tell our staff, though, repeat business, which for us is 94% of our work. Repeat business is totally dependent on the project staff. So take care of your clients, meet with them, understand what their needs are, anticipate their needs, understand not just what we do as civil engineers, but understand what the architect client will need from us in order for the developer or the owner to get the project through the process, and articulate that as best you can and be there in front of your clients. And so an organization like Crew Network is so valuable for people like me, because I learn more about what does Diane need, or what does someone like Sally or Lee, what do I need to know to be better in my job to help my clients, and therefore help my firm, and then personally help me. That's what it's all about. We want to do a good job.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's about finding mentors too, people that can help us grow in our expertise, help educate us. So that's a lot of what I look for, even if, every time I meet somebody, I think, well, there's an opportunity for me to learn from that person, even if I'm not necessarily trying to make the sale.
Yeah, I would say you cannot start networking too early. I tell my daughters who are 27 and 31, you got to start coming to conferences with me. And I love Crew Network, especially because I'm not hanging out with just architects or just builders. I'm meeting a really broad spectrum of the industry, and that's what you really need. It's probably the best networking group that of all the 20 or so groups I belong to.
I agree with that. I'm a member of a number of associations, and Crew Network is certainly unique in that regard because of the multidisciplinary aspect of our membership. And the fact is that, one of the benefits, one of the many benefits of being a member of Crew is to be able to learn from other professionals who are involved in aspects of the real estate transaction in ways in which you might not be in your own profession. And knowledge is power. I mean, we are all, regardless of what we do for a living, we're information connectors. And that's part of what we do here, and that's what's so wonderful about this group, is that we're all very supportive of each other's careers, ensuring that if there's a piece of the transaction that you're missing that you need, and we know someone who can help you with that, it's an excellent way to do that. So I want to thank all of you today for your time. It's been wonderful spending some time with you, our distinguished panelists. We appreciate it. And I want to thank Crew Network for the opportunity to present. I want to thank Walmart Realty, our premier partner for Crew Network, for allowing us an opportunity to deliver these messages and communicate with all of you by way of our Career Zone. We hope you enjoy it, and we certainly hope to see each and every one of you at a future chapter meeting or Crew Network conference. Thank you so much.